Today's passage is 1 Kings chapter 19 verses 1 to 18. Elijah was under a death threat, and indeed he wished his life to end. Nothing left to live for, he felt. It was all up. No one else was faithful to Yahweh. He'd failed in his mission and vocation. Death seemed almost an attractive prospect. In other words, Elijah had reached rock bottom. I can't help wondering if Elijah suffered from bipolar depression, actually, since the previous incident was his great triumph over the prophets of Baal in demonstrating the overwhelming power of his God Yahweh. That we shall never know. But his mood here speaks to us whenever we feel at the end of our tether and unable to go on. Elijah was literally unable to go on as he was physically exhausted. And of course, we know how low mood comes with physical illness and exhaustion. The angel's ministry to him was touching in its practicality. Elijah slept, he woke and was given food and drink, he slept again, he woke and was fed again. And his physical needs provided, he was enabled to get up and continue his journey. None of us can cope without those basic physical needs being first satisfied. So Elijah went on to the place where he was to receive the greatest revelation of God of his life. Isn't that curious? Rock bottom, then gradual recovery, but out of that crisis moment comes an encounter with God. That moment when God is revealed to him through the still small voice, or the sound of sheer silence. If we ever wonder why God lets us go through such terrible times, maybe this is one reason. Maybe we need to be taken to the very limits of our endurance before we can hear and see that presence. Elijah encountered such a subtle revelation of God that day. Not the wind, not the earthquake, not the fire, nothing big scale or dramatic. But when he heard that sheer silence, notice the paradox, he recognised it immediately and went out to speak with God. And how did God deal with his mental state now? With a list of actions to do. Again, entirely practical. With then just a hint that Elijah's perspective had become somewhat distorted, as happens when we are depressed. There are still 7,000 people loyal to God, by the way. It wasn't really all up with Elijah, far from it. Always question those thoughts of hopelessness. All these details are important to us today. During the pandemic, our mental health is under attack, even if we're not directly affected by the virus. Isolation, money worries, boredom, uncertainty, the sense of being out of control, the unknown future. All these things are highly stressful and are likely to affect our state of mental health. It's normal to feel depressed or anxious or stressed in these circumstances. It's normal to find our emotions seesawing up and down day to day. It's normal to struggle with loneliness and isolation. And for us, like Elijah, the important survival tips are sleep, nutrition, exercise, a list of things to do, and a reality check. The angel of the Lord touched him and said, "Get up and eat. Otherwise, the journey will be too much for you."